An off-duty Border Patrol agent was shot in the face by an illegal immigrant in New York City. This caused New York City's mayor, Eric Adams, to finally lose his patience with the kind and compassionate virtue signaling game, and he publicly admits that these illegal immigrants are bringing violence and chaos with them, and it is ruining New York City. And what makes this tragic incident even more infuriating is the illegal who shot this officer came into the country in 2023 under Joe Biden's open border policy and has a rap sheet a mile long. But because of unconstitutional sanctuary city policies and Democrats' suicidal empathy, this man, just like millions of others across our country, were allowed to roam free. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's hear from the mayor of New York City what happened, and then I will show you guys the surveillance footage of this incident.
And last night, an off-duty federal officer for U.S. Custom and Border Protection was in Riverside Park when an unexpected situation became a reality. Shortly before midnight last night, the 42-year-old male federal officer was with a friend when two predators on a moped approached. One male dismounted the scooter, displayed a firearm, and approached the two who were just trying to enjoy the city, like so many of us do during a hot evening hour. According to the video, investigators recovered from the scene. It appears that our perpetrator discharged at least 2 shots, striking the officer in his face and forearm. The federal officer returned fire.
I want to highlight a specific word he used to describe this individual because it is definitionally accurate. Predator. The illegals who committed this crime were doing so for none other reason than they enjoy being violent. They enjoy invoking fear in people. They enjoy imposing their will on people by force. These are people who, at their core, find enjoyment out of terrorizing innocent people. Egregious, predatory, violent behavior is common in almost all of the countries where we're importing people by the millions. Despite the left's delusional philosophical belief that crime is a result of poverty and that people only commit crime out of desperation because they need to live, they conveniently act like people such as this illegal immigrant who shot a Border Patrol officer in the face don't exist. This was not an instance of crime to survive, and I can prove it. This illegal immigrant lives in New York City, so he's immune from any of Trump's federal cuts to welfare benefits for illegals. And as long as the citizens of New York City continue to vote for people who will bankrupt their city in order to provide a free lifestyle for illegal immigrants, people like this guy are good. He has free housing, he has free cash cards, he has free food, he has free health care. His kids get a free education. He is probably living a life that is better in quality than the average New Yorker who has to get up every day, bust their ass, and go to work. Now, here's the surveillance footage from the incident, and don't worry, it's not graphic, but make sure you listen to this guy's rap sheet and the kind of heinous crimes he's been convicted of before.
This is the moment DHS says an off-duty Customs and Border Protection officer is ambushed and shot late Saturday by a man with a deportation order. Authorities believe 2 men who approached on a scooter were attempting to rob the 42-year-old officer who was in a park with a friend. 2 senior law enforcement sources say it appears to be a random encounter. The alleged shooter, identified by police as Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez of the Dominican Republic. Mora Nunez was taken into custody after going to the hospital to be treated for his injuries. Authorities confirming he had previously been arrested for domestic violence, robbery, assault, and was wanted in Massachusetts for kidnapping. President Trump saying on Truth Social that Mora Nunez was apprehended at the border in April 2023, but instead of being deported, was released.
I cannot be clear enough. These are the kind of people that sanctuary cities are harboring. Politicians of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are willingly failing to do their number one job as elected official, which is to keep their citizens safe. Any policy that allows a person like this, who's not even supposed to be in our country, to consistently commit crimes of violence and then be released back into the streets is objectively bad. There is no nuance. There is no gray area. These guys were just out and about one night trying to harm people, trying to rob people, and clearly willing to shoot and kill people, simply because that's what they did back in their home country on a Friday night. They're bored, living their cushy life courtesy of the taxpayer in polite society, and instead of going out to the movies or something, their idea of a good time, their idea of fun, was to roam through a park and potentially kill innocent people minding their business, just trying to have a good time. This is how the United States goes from being a high-trust society to a low-trust society. When people are scared to go out into public because they know their politicians are importing people who share none of their cultural values or norms and have zero respect for the rule of law or human life. But the Democrats fail to accept that certain cultures are completely incompatible with how we do things here in America. They hold the fundamental belief that anybody who has black or brown skin is therefore a victim and deserving of unlimited sympathy. They're not inherently dangerous people because their culture promotes violence and lawlessness. No, they're the poor victims of white supremacist U.S. imperialism and destabilization. So we have an obligation to rectify that, to invite them into our country, because once they cross the border into America, all those criminal and violent tendencies that they had before were just tools they needed to survive. Once they come here and start enjoying a nice, luxurious lifestyle courtesy of the taxpayer, they're gonna turn into a pride flag draping liberal. That's the delusional logic of the left, and it's been absolutely disastrous for our country. And here's Eric Adams admitting that and saying illegal immigrants with their violence and with their chaos are ruining New York City.
This issue, an incident of this shooting, is a clear example of everything that's broken by our criminal justice system. One, the perpetrator or the person of interest that we have in custody have been known to have repeated interactions with law enforcement, violent interactions with law enforcement. The second, the over-proliferation of guns. Although we've removed over 22,000, bad guys continue to get guns in their possessions, and they're not afraid to use them. And thirdly, something that I talked about often, the violent migrant and asylum seekers who are bringing violence and really tarnish the reputation of those who come to this country to pursue the American dream.
Like, you can only pretend that every illegal immigrant is some saint or some innocent mother for so long. That delusional kind of thinking forces you to open up the border, let tens of millions of people into your country unvetted. And then you open your eyes and realize you've created a situation where there are millions of violent Dominican foreign nationals running through the parks of New York City trying to kill people for fun. The United States at large is becoming a place that is indistinguishable from those violent third world countries in which these people fled from. Bad people will always take advantage of naive people who are trying to be kind. It can happen in your personal life, and it can certainly happen at scale the way it did under the Biden administration. Now, you guys know I always want my viewers to be as informed as possible. So let's take a look at the official border crossing numbers under the Biden administration to really get an idea of just how bad this issue is. So for 2022, 2023, and 2024, there were on average 2.5 million border encounters per year. They don't have the data from 2021, but we can assume it's the same 2.5 million, if not more. That means over a period of 4 years, there were 10 million encounters at the border. Now, let me show you the raw truth of who exactly was coming across our border during that time. Now, the Democrats claim it was all mothers and families and vulnerable people, but the actual data reveals a completely different and truly chilling reality. So the first column is single adults, the second column is family units, the third column is accompanied minors, and the last column is unaccompanied minors. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that the vast majority of these border encounters were from single adults. And from the hundreds of videos and pictures of these massive migrant caravans, they are all military-aged men. There are more than twice as many military-aged men that came across the southern border than the supposed vulnerable family units that the Democrats try to claim the open border policy was truly helping. These people saw the open border as the opportunity of a lifetime to come and completely take advantage of America, steal all the jobs by undercutting wages of domestic workers, bring their crime and violence and take advantage of sanctuary city policies, knowing they will not interact with ICE and are lenient against criminals, and you'll likely be back out on the street tomorrow. Just remember the apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado that were legitimately taken over by MS-13 gang members. And that is one example in one city in one Democrat state. Now, that 10 million number was simply border encounters. That does not include getaways. And just to be precise and detailed with you guys, here's the definition of a getaway. In the context of border security, gotaways refer to individuals who illegally cross a border into a country, are observed doing so, but are not apprehended by border officials. Essentially, they are people who successfully evade detection and capture while crossing the border. Here's a more detailed breakdown. The individual must be observed, making an unlawful entry into the country. They are not stopped or taken into custody by Border Patrol or other law enforcement. So these are people who Border Patrol observed getting away and breaking into the country. And you can assume that's going to tally up to probably another 5 to 10 million. If Border Patrol agents are absolutely swamped by the 2.5 million people that are actually coming to the border and taking up all of their manpower. And that doesn't even take into account the people who wouldn't be considered gotaways and just plainly snuck into the country undetected. And that number will remain impossible to know. But you can assume that if 2.5 million people per year are being stopped at the border, call it another 2 million are gotaways who are being observed, it's probably that much, if not more, who are just cleanly sneaking across the border because all the Border Patrol manpower is being diverted elsewhere. And when it's being diverted elsewhere, that's when they take advantage of sneaking in the terrorists, the heinous criminals, smuggling the guns, smuggling the fentanyl. And all of that doesn't even include people given temporary protective status, paroled into the country with a hearing set a decade in the future. So yeah, this is a massive issue. And it truly shows the disconnect between Democrats with their ivory tower fashionable ideas like abolish ICE. ICE is risking their lives, removing people that shoot Border Patrol agents out of our country. The Democrats will never be forgiven for their intentional effort to destroy our country from within, tangibly making people's lives worse, more unsafe, and then telling them they should be thankful for it. Giving them a free lifestyle courtesy of your tax dollars while you're struggling, and if you dare to even call it out or complain about it, they'll just label you a racist. Their deep-rooted hatred of America leads them to believe we must all partake in rectifying America's historical evils. We all exist to improve the lives of the third world. We're supposed to give them our homes, our nation, our birthright. They get to break into America, have kids, and now their kids are just as American as everybody else. And we're forced to accept it because they'll say, well, it's in the Constitution. They hide behind the Constitution and manipulate its words to effectuate our own downfall. That's why the Democrats are so pro-immigrant, because they truly believe Americans should all collectively hold this weird national shame and be willing to hand over the country that we built to the people that Democrats have declared we oppressed. The last thing I'm going to show you is Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles being so thirsty to publicly say that ICE are criminal kidnappers that she gets tricked into supporting an illegal immigrant who is scamming Americans for their hard-earned money.
Well, you guys, there was a story that a Mexican illegal woman was kidnapped by ICE, thrown into a warehouse, being forced to self-deport. And Mayor Bass and all the activists got behind this story because this, of course, was another example of how evil ICE is. And the family, of course, set up a GoFundMe page. I don't know, why, but there's the woman. It turns out she's they found her. She was at a Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
She was not deported. She was not thrown into some sort of, warehouse facility. Nobody forced her to self-deport, although now she's in a lot of big trouble.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Rachel, Democrats created this narrative that ICE is the Gestapo, that ICE is evil, and that they're kidnapping and disappearing people, and they wanted an example. So that's why Mayor Bass on July 1st leaned in, put her picture up, and tweeted this. She's a mother from LA, taken out of her car on her way to work, and then held in a warehouse as officers hoped she would self-deport. No hearing, just fear. This doesn't make anyone safer. But here's the problem. She faked her kidnapping, and DHS called him out yesterday, tweeting this. Mayor, you pushed a hoax. There is still time to delete this. This woman was never arrested or kidnapped by ICE or bounty hunters. This criminal illegal alien scammed innocent Americans for money and diverted limited DHS resources from Los Angeles. I think that's called caught red-handed.
Again, whether it's the cultural acceptance of violence or murder, or lying or manipulating or scamming, when you mass import people who aren't familiar with living in polite society, high trust society, and come from a place where all they've known all their life is survival by any means necessary, it's going to be disastrous for the domestic population and cause us to lose our faith and trust in one another. Democrats create these massive problems and then condemn people for trying to fix them. The Democrats aren't allowed to import 20+ million people into the country who aren't compatible with our way of life, and then turn around and call us Nazis because we want mass deportations and basic enforcement of immigration laws. They create these anarchist hellholes where the rule of law doesn't exist. And then when the rule of law is reestablished, they interpret that as authoritarianism. The Democrats complain the right is radical. Well, they have to take complete culpability for radicalizing people on an issue they would have otherwise never cared about. Most people wouldn't be supporting mass deportations and celebrating alligator Alcatraz if the Democrats didn't create a problem so severe that the people want it fixed by any means necessary. And issues like this of law enforcement being shot in the face by violent illegals who shouldn't be here will only continue to push people further in a direction that Democrats are not going to appreciate. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.